Nithyananda, hi, this is Ma Nitya Oviananda. I'm here today at Nithyanandeshwara Sadashiva Devasthanam, here at Nithyananda Peenam, Bengaluru, Adina. And here behind me you see a series of panels. These are actually lining 28 sections, 28 sections of pillars here at the Sadashiva Mandapam, which is the first area that is opened up and under construction of the new Golden Temple that Swamiji is building for Sadashiva himself. And I'm standing specifically in front of this panel today because I wanted to talk about Sanyas and making conscious decisions and declarations about your life and knowing who you are and what you want. So behind me, Swamiji is standing with his guru, which is the long title. I'm trying to remember because typically he finally calls her as Kupuma, but her long title is Maha Yogini Mata Vibhutananda Puri. And she's just a wonderful person. Like, I, of course, never met her, but I love hearing all the stories and how she trained him such a beautiful way and with such a compassionate way, yet she was also strict with him also. And he just tells so many wonderful stories about her. And there they're standing in this panel at at the Holy Hill in Tiruvannamalai, Arunachala. And over here, to my left side, is Isekai Swamigal. That is actually Kukumal's guru. And the type of guru that he was, they have a lineage of masters that will usually take on one disciple and pass on their knowledge. So Swamiji also spent a lot of time with him studying the Vedas, and it's just an amazing lineage from the generations and the lifetimes that these great masters come and they continue to teach us. And the beautiful thing is now Swamiji has millions of disciples, so it's an interesting different variety and different amazing beings that you have in Hinduism. So there's a story that I wanted to share about Swamiji as a young boy. See, in the villages of India, they have the huge families and extended families, and they often get together. And Swamiji is telling how there's always these couple aunties that get together and they try to do the matchmaking. So from the family and extended family and all the people, they'll try to do the matchmaking and see, which kid should go with which boy and girl, and they try to match them up. So one fine day, Swamiji was there and overheard them all talking about so-and-so. And then they got to his name, and they started to talk about him. And he says, no way, the exact quotes I don't have, but he basically went up to them and he said, no way, I'm not getting married, I'm a sannyasi. And he knew exactly what he wanted to be, who he was. And he knew he didn't want any part of that marriage life, and he's already chosen this path. And at such a young age, I mean, I know it was before 10 years old that he declared this, maybe say around 7 or 8 years old. And he was very clear. And then at first they're like, oh yeah, you're just a young boy, you don't know. And he's like, no. And then he threatened them, and he's like, in the villages, these ladies and other people, they have a habit of chewing on this betel leaf. It's like a big leaf, and it's kind of bitter. And they usually, I think they tuck it like in their cheek. So they fill it with things, various items, and then they wrap it up. They kind of roll it up and stick it in their cheek, and they kind of chew on it. It's some tradition that they do. And so he said some specific herb name. He says, I'm going to put this in your betel leaf if you continue to talk about this. And they were shaken because this young boy threatening them was actually putting something not so pleasant for them that would have made them ill. But that's how serious he was. He knew, and he had such a real persistence and such a clarity about what his life was. Even as a young boy, he knew he would be a sannyasi. You can see him. I have some photos of him at age of 3, wearing a kavi and standing in front of the holy hill in a temple. And he knew. And that's what I'm talking in our life. The thing is, we know even when we're children what we want to be. But unfortunately, along the way, either society or parents or other people, they might deter us from what we feel is our calling. Sometimes we don't know, and sometimes we have to explore that as we're adults. But sometimes as children, we do know that that's our path. But unfortunately, by the conditionings of society, and oftentimes our parents don't know any better, they only want the best for us. But for whatever their ideals are and whatever they think is best, actually doesn't always match with what we're supposed to do, why we are born and took body here on planet Earth. I remember as a child, I knew that I wanted to be an artist. I would, color in the walls. And one time my father, poor Russian father, was throwing out an old refrigerator, these old big steel type of refrigerators with the door that it looks like an old car in a way. They're so big. And he had that thing there, and I just wanted to paint it. So he gave me some old, like, sky blue paint, and he said, have at it. And I was so thrilled to, like, paint that thing. And, so all watercolors and crafts and all different things I totally love to do. And I even made mud pies one day out in the back of the garage. And my mother was not too thrilled because it was covered. But actually, the funny thing is, now that I'm thinking of it, I made a hill. I made a hill, and it could have been Arunachala because it was a round hill. It was a big kind of round hill, and around it I made a path. So I don't know what that was, but who knows. So I used to love to do all of those creative things. But then as I started to get older, uh, you know, a lot of people weren't necessarily encouraging of the path of being an artist because they were concerned for my well-being, or whatever they perceived was what you're supposed to do with your life. So then I unfortunately listened to those things instead of myself. So what you need to do when you come with something like that in your own life, don't let other people deter you. Follow your heart and continue to do those things, because those are what's going to fulfill you the most in life. Those are the things that's going to make you the most happy. And you just have a little will, persistence, and hold a gentle space. And eventually the other people, that are loved ones that may not necessarily encourage you, they'll come around also. If you hold that space of completion, and will, persistence, and that knowing space, you just continue to have that, and you'll definitely proceed in the way that you want. So, talking about Swamiji and will, persistence, and the beautiful thing about Swamiji and coming to his programs, you can learn what is your life's purpose, because many of us don't know. Okay, maybe my path was a creative path, and that's what I wanted to do, but what is my life's purpose? I only really felt that, actually, when I met Swamiji, and I came to the Inner Awakening program in 2011. So during that time, is when I started to discover all of these things about myself. So I encourage all of you watching to come to Swamiji's programs, especially the ones where you can actually live around him for a few weeks, because you really get in that space with him and that understanding of what you are and what you're meant to do with your life. And you can even ask him also, because Swamiji can go into the Akashic readings, the Akashic records, the cosmic archives, and he can look and see what is your pradapta, what is your life's purpose on planet Earth. And then you can start to plan. Or if you're like me and you really never wanted to get married, and people were maybe telling you should, and you didn't want to, maybe you thought you should do it or you wanted to in some way, but you knew deep down that that's not what you wanted to do, then you can also ask him to change it. So that's the beauty and the gift of having the avatar, His Holiness Paramahamsa Nithyananda, with us, because he can actually change what we want, what our future is, based on our heart. And what he understands and knows about us, because he can see more about us and who we are than we know. So he can help with all of that. And you have the opportunity to ask him firsthand questions about yourself and your life when you do the programs like Inner Awakening. These are the residential programs of Inner Awakening and Sadashivatva. So I hope to see you soon here in India and at the Adinam and in this beautiful temple, learning more about Sanyas and about this great being who's living among us. Thank you so much for watching today. Nithyananda.